are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, it's Susan Kaufman here for ADDitude magazine, our ADHD Experts audio series. Today's topic is raising a child with special needs, how to let go of expectations and love the reality. We are so fortunate to have as our speakers today mother and daughter duo, Gina and Katie Gallagher, who I will say refer to themselves as the imperfect experts. I love that. Gina is the author of Shut Up About Your Perfect Kid, a survival guide for ordinary parents of special children, a book that has reached a huge audience and resonated with so many people. Gina's blog, shutupabout.com, and her Facebook community are just stunning in their reach and the community that they provide for people. We're so happy to have Katie, her daughter, today with us as well. She's a 19-year-old college student living with ADHD, Asperger's, and learning disabilities, and she's here to offer insights to parents on the realities of her life. So thank you so much, Gina and Katie, both.
Yeah.
We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you, Susan. And I just want to mention that I'd love to take full credit for the book and the blog, but my sister, my co-author, is my sister Patty, who is raising a daughter with bipolar disorder. So we cover it together.
That's even better.
And I know she's listening, and she'll beat me up if I don't.
Hi,
tell her.
Patty. Thank you. So today we'll talk about how to survive the mourning process and the loss of the, quote, perfect child. Yeah. How to give up your need for control, and how to help, and especially, how to teach your child independence and celebrate your child's successes. So let me tell you first a little bit about, in case you haven't been here before, how the ADDitude webinars work. Gina will speak for a few minutes to review her slides, and then she'll take questions from any of you who are on the line. You are muted, but please post your questions for Gina and Katie in the box on your screen. If you have comments to share with the other webinar participants, or sometimes people have wonderful tips that they add, post those as well, and we will do our best to make those clear to everyone. If you have problems hearing us, the solution is to dial in via your phone line. Problems are almost always based on your internet connection. After our sessions, you'll find the slides as well as the audio on the ADDitude website, additudemag.com/webinars. And within a week or so, you'll also find the audio as a podcast in the iTunes store in the ADHD Experts audio series, along with tons of other wonderful archives from past ADHD expert speakers. So with that, let me turn it over to Gina and Katie. And again, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Susan. Katie, are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Susan, Katie and I were wondering, we just have to ask, we know today is a big day. It's April Fool's Day.
Oh,
and
God.
Did the fact that Katie's mother is a fool play any part in choosing us for this particular day?
Totally random.
We don't have any tricks, right, Katie? We have no tricks planned, but we do have some treats for you today, and one of them is having this opportunity to speak with my daughter, Katie. And it's one thing for a parent to share her perspective, but to have your child here who can add and sort of complain about me on the line is also helpful as well.
I intend to complain about you.
Well, Katie and I we are so grateful to ADDitude magazine, and ADDitude has been very instrumental in helping our book get noticed, and we are actual cover models for an article that was done in ADDitude magazine several years ago, chronicling Katie's journey out of the public school system. And Katie, I don't know if you recall what you said to me when we found out that cover story on us. Yeah, I said, how do you feel about ADDitude doing a cover story on us?
And I said, well, I don't want to be like on a tabloid magazine in the supermarket.
I think she was thinking we'd be like on the Enquirer and all kinds of paparazzi would be following us, but it hasn't happened. But thank you, ADDitude. We love your attitude. But our journey in our book, and I'm not doing this in any way to promote our book because I think the message is so important, but one of the things that we say and we talk about is that every parent has some expectations for their children, I think that, you know, no matter what your child it might be, that if you can go great, you know, whatever your child might be, you have some plans. It may be that your child is going to be a star athlete because you were an athlete, or maybe because you like music, your child will like music. I know in the case of Katie and my child, I envisioned as a tomboy that Katie would love, my future children would love sports. She laughs because sports isn't her thing. I
No,
also
it's
never
not.
imagined as a tomboy that I would have a daughter that loves dresses because I never wear them, but she wears them almost weekly. But we have some expectations, and honestly I think society helps fuel those expectations, because it seems like, you know, we have you know, this vision of the perfect child, you know, that a child has to be a great athlete, a great student. And I don't know about a lot of you out there, but it seems to me that there are so many kids good at so many things today. And when I played sports, there was maybe 3 or 4 kids on the team that were exceptional. Today, everybody's exceptional. Every time I look at photos of friends' children on Facebook, I'm struck with how beautiful their children are, and I think my daughter's beautiful, but that's a story for another day. But there are so many expectations for children, and it starts from the second they're born, and we start to compare them up and through, you know, where are they going to college, who are they going to marry, what do they do for a living. It never ends. Next slide. So for many of us, we have these plans, and as I mentioned, it's common for all parents to have these expectations. But you know, when you find out your child has a disability, it seems that our high expectations all of a sudden go very, very low. And I think part of the reason for that is, I know in my case, when I found out Katie was diagnosed with a disability, and I know my sister felt this way about her daughter, you turn to all kinds of resources to get help and assistance. And what you find is that everybody projects sort of a negative side of things. Any expert I talk to, you know, neuropsychologists, read their reports, and they would tell me all the things that she couldn't do and wasn't able to do. And Katie, you've kind of experienced that yourself. I remember when you spoke at your college, your high school graduation. Remember what you talked about?
Yeah, I do. I talked about how they never believed in me. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, well, they're not going to respond, but I'm sure they're nodding their heads yes.
Okay, okay. Just wanted to make sure. How no one ever believed in me. How I was never supposed to go to college, graduate high school, drive a car, and I've done all those things.
Yeah, and I think as your parent, too, I kind of fed into that. I remember something as simple as your first communion. I remember you had problems, Katie, like a lot of children on the autism spectrum, has difficulties with textures and foods and tastes. So when it came time to make her first communion, I was convinced that she wasn't going to be able to do it. In fact, I actually went to the priest and said, Father, forgive me, for I'm about to sin. My daughter's going to spit out the communion wafer, because we were taught never to touch it, never to. And I remember my sister at the time, who is one of Katie's biggest cheerleaders, always saying, she'll be fine, she'll be fine. And she got up, and I was a nervous wreck while she was making her way down in her beautiful communion dress. And you did it, right, Katie?
Yeah, I did. It tasted horrible, but I did it.
Yeah, I know, but you did it. And so it was just this funny thing about how you can lower your expectations. And then for me, I mean, and Susan mentioned earlier, really this mourning process, I remember reading that early on in books. You know, what is this they're saying? Finding out your child has a disability is like a mourning process. It has been likened to that, the stages of it. And one of the things that I have found is that, you know, having 3 years ago we experienced the depth of the mourning process when we lost our mother, where I lost my mother. And I never understood what they meant until that happened, when I realized, even though my daughter Katie is doing amazingly well, and you are, Katie, and I'm so proud of you, sometimes I wonder, you know, sometimes I could see something somebody you went to school with. Like I remember when you were in a special needs school, they didn't really have an official prom, and I'd drive by the prom and I'd see all these kids lined up, and I'd say, that's where we were supposed to be. And a lot of parents go in and out of that mourning process. I know some of you may have read the poem or the essay Welcome to Holland, and that Emily Pearl Kingsley wrote that article to describe what it was like raising a child with Down syndrome, and how it often felt like, you know, you were, everybody else was on this trip to Italy. Having a baby was like going to Italy, and then you make your plans for Italy, and you get on the plane, and all of a sudden they say you landed in Holland, and you know, you must adjust to a whole different way, and but you never get over not going to Italy. And I think that mourning process is common for a lot of parents. I know that I spent time there. I think that when it becomes troublesome is when you can't get out of it, and fortunately we were able to get out of that. Next slide.
Oh, do you want me to move it, or?
No, you don't move it.
Okay.
One of the things that I noticed as a parent, when our children are young, they have separation anxiety. They're afraid to leave you. And one of the things that I found as a special parent is that I actually had separation anxiety with Katie as far as she got older, because I didn't think that we could separate. Mostly, I didn't think that Katie would be able to go on without my day-to-day guidance. So when it came to college, Katie graduated from high school, and she turned to me and she said, "Mom, I want to go to college. You want to go to college." And what did I say to you? I said, "Well, you should. Great. We'll try to get you licensed. You'll live at home." I tried to bribe you. What did I bribe you with?
A car, and I still have not gotten that car, by the way.
Yeah, and for those of you listening at home, there's no plans to get her that car. But I think that, you know, I tried to take the easy way out and say, no, you're going to commute. And part of the reason why I did that is because I was going from my own experience as a college freshman. I was extremely homesick and miserable my first semester. If I thought, if I couldn't do that without a disability, how can my daughter do that with her disability? But Katie, you said you wanted to go, and you went.
Yeah.
And I felt like I all of a sudden lost control, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be there to do everything for her. What if she encounters trouble? How am I going to help? How is she going to do this? Not to mention, Katie, how much did I worry about you getting yourself out of bed every morning?
A lot, actually.
A lot.
Call me every morning to make sure I got out of bed.
Yeah, and you've managed your own schedule, your own workload. You go to a school that has supports, but you manage all that. You might want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. My support system is very good. I meet with an advisor once a week to go over my goals and talk about classes and what else?
But you manage your own schedule. And
I do.
And you're getting the same curriculum as everybody else, so you're not getting a different, you know, nobody's treating you any different. It's just you're getting, but in order for you to get those supports, I'm not calling you up and saying, Katie, go for tutoring today.
Yeah, I have to schedule all the appointments by myself.
And you've done an amazing job.
Yeah.
The other thing I found about college is that many of Katie's peers, I found that parents were so still stuck in this expectation thing that if their children didn't want to go to college, they still forced them to go. And, you know, and they only found out later on that that's not the case. Now, Katie has a younger sister that's 16 who has some learning challenges. Right now, she's expressing the need not to go, that she doesn't want to go to college. I think she would love college, but I'm sort of following her lead on this because I don't want to put her in a situation where she's not ready for. And I think that goes very well to my last point in the slide. It's not about you. One of the things that has been hardest to learn, because I think everything is about me, and my sister.
True, she does. She does.
One of the most difficult things that we forget as parents is that we think our fears that we had, for example, when I say I didn't want to live away at school, I was scared. I thought Katie would share those same exact fears. Similarly, when Katie has a difficult situation, like she may not be out on a Saturday night at college, that would have killed me. With Katie, it doesn't bother her. She needs time alone.
It does bother me, but sometimes you
not
need
to the
time
degree
alone.
it bothered me. But there's things you worry about that I don't worry about. But I have to remember, it's not you. I have to separate. It's not about me. It's your life. Next slide. So how do we get to that point where we get to the point where we stop living in the expectations and loving the reality? And I think one of the things that Katie has taught me, Kate, you've taught me so much, and I guess I think I'm the one who's supposed to teach you, but somehow we got it reversed.
Mm-hmm.
You taught me, number one, that I've got to let you live your life and guide you, but I can't force you to do things you want to do, although I really would like it when you come home this weekend if you would clean your room.
What? We're not allowed in our house, so I don't think that's even possible.
But guide her. You know, I didn't try to force her into college. I stayed up at night worrying myself sick, and when I dropped her off, I was convinced that it was not the right thing for her, but she has hung in and loves it and is doing so well. So I'm guiding. When she told me she wanted to live away at college, I went and I explored all the options with her. One thing, Katie always jokes about this because I say I don't really always listen to my husband. Okay, I hardly ever listen to my husband, but one of the best pieces of advice he gave me was not to ride the highs and lows. And I think that that's something I've learned with Katie. If she's having a really good week, I tend to get high. If she's like today, I talked to her, she's very stressed out from her workload.
Yeah.
I've got to learn not to get low and to be, you know, and have I gotten better at that, Katie?
You have gotten a lot better.
Yeah, but she tells me I need a life because I'm always asking her
Oh,
questions.
yeah, you totally need a life.
One thing that is so important, my sister Patty and I always joke that she's the sister afraid of success and I'm the sister afraid of failure. Failure really scares me. But every book I've read on success tells me that failure is a part of success. I think failure scares me, but failure petrifies me for my daughter because I feel helpless and I can't do anything. But I have to allow her to fail. And Katie, I have to say, if I may brag, everyone listening, you've not failed in anything.
Well,
yeah, all right, let's go. But the other thing I learned is in our travels when we speak for our book, Shut Up About Your Perfect Kid, we meet many people and we draw on their wisdom. And one of my favorite pieces of advice came from this lovely woman in Texas named Julie, who said to us, you know, the problem with special needs children is they always look ahead. Will our child, you know, will my child go to first grade? Will they make it through middle school? Will they graduate? Will they get married? That one of the biggest mistakes we make is to not look back and on their successes. And I think that if I look ahead, Katie, I can still find things to worry about. I can find something to worry about with everything. But just looking back on your successes tell me that when you encounter a problem, you're going to get through them because you've shown that you can.
oh, thanks, Mom.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie. And lastly, the best advice is to be their cheerleader, minus the splits, because I don't know about any of you, but I have no flexibility. But I am Katie's biggest fan. Katie may call me a stalker at some point.
Oh, yeah. You are a stalker.
And it is interesting to me in terms of letting go of expectations and loving the reality is that anything Katie has accomplished in her life has truly blown away anything I could have ever imagined and anything that I could have done. She is stronger, happier, more self-confident than I ever was with her disability, than I ever was without one. And it reminds me of my favorite quote that we learned very early in our travels. It's about loving the reality. When you can't change the direction of the wind, adjust your sails. And that is precisely what we have done and Katie has taught me. And the lessons that I have learned from Katie have really helped me apply it to other aspects of my life. It's not just a parenting message, it's a life message about how to overcome adversity and change direction. And Kate, the best thing you ever taught me is to never give up.
Really?
Yeah.
So Gina and Katie, thanks so much for being here. And I have to say that
was a pleasure.
So many of the things you said, Gina, just resonate with me personally, both the mourning process, and I think mostly with my daughter, who's 23 now, your point about our kids doing so much better than all those experts said they would at the early years is so true. You know, if I look back and think about the worries that I had in the early years, I mean, many of them just didn't come to pass.
Yeah.
And with persistence, kids can like Katie and my daughter can just do so much more than the people who are labeling them as different
Yeah, and Susan,
might think. Yeah.
did you find too what I was saying as far as, you find your own fears, and sometimes
Absolutely.
you can get in their way, and
Totally. And a whole balance between being their cheerleader but stepping back, all of that, it's just so challenging. I mean, I think
yeah.
you put your finger on it right there. Katie, there are so many people on the line that would love to hear more from you.
Okay.
What kind of a school do you attend, and what's your biggest challenge in school, and what helps you get through it?
I attend a school in Massachusetts. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, is it a 2-year or 4-year college?
Oh yeah, it's a 4-year.
What help have you had at the school that helps you succeed?
Well,
What's make the most difference to you?
the tutoring program, the social group. What else?
But Katie's part of her school has a learning center within the school, and through that learning center is where she gets all the supports.
Okay. And can you describe those? It sounds like there's tutoring.
Yeah. There's tutoring. I get extended time on exams, and I get a quiet room to do the exams in. And I get certain accommodations, and one of those accommodations is I get a single room.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
What else?
And she's like the social piece, I think, particularly for a lot of children with Asperger's, that's the biggest challenge. And
right.
To her credit, she found a social group that they offer. She goes and she's formed a lot of friendships. And Katie, tell them about where you're going to be living next year.
I'm actually going to have a single room in an apartment with some kids from the center. Part of the
that's
group.
Terrific. So you found a community of,
yeah. And she bounced around a little bit, but that's one of the things that I remember too, and I told her too, is, many of my friends that I have in college are not the ones I initially met, and, that it takes time to find the right group, find your way.
Yeah, you told me that like the first day I went to college.
Yep.
Katie, how did you handle social challenges in elementary and high school? A lot of the parents on the webinar have kids in that age group, and they're wanting to learn from your experience about those tough years in middle school, high school.
I only had a few friends in like elementary school and middle school, but in high school, I went to a school that only had 60 kids, so I kind of had a lot of friends. Or
a lot of friends who all had disabilities.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
A little bit easier there.
Yeah, they were easier to talk to, and they accepted me for my quirks and such.
Okay, so you were in a private school or a special school. You weren't in a yeah.
We tried the public school route for Katie, but
no, it didn't work.
This is going back, several years ago too, where when I remember when we got the Asperger's diagnosis, people said to me, the teacher said, "What is that?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In terms of accepting and mourning, there are a number of parents, everyone resonates with that, everybody understands that, and some people, there is one person who's posted that she just can't get past it. She just is stuck in, as you say, stuck in that place.
Absolutely.
Of regret. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I will say I cried along. I spent many years in that process, and I will tell you the positive side is that you don't retain water because I was crying all the time.
Oh, my God.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. I did seek professional help when it got to a point where I was really sad. I mean, I found myself very, very sad. And when I mean sad, I wasn't, suicidal. I just remember, honestly, I remember saying to my husband, I was thinking, like, I do not want to live to see her grow up because this is so painful, and it was getting worse and worse as she got a little bit older, and I'm talking like as she went from kindergarten to 4th grade, that's when the kids really started to notice the differences. And I sought professional help, and the one thing I have been very good at is self-care, of doing things for myself, getting out, being around other people, and I'm not sure if this person is on our Facebook community, but we have a Facebook community of about 800,000 people around the world, and this is the type of place you can come and say that You won't be judged, and they'll try to offer you tips on how to get yourself out. But if you think it's a point where you really cannot get out of it, you're so depressed, please seek the help of a professional.
That makes sense. And I guess not only you as the caretaker, but the other point that's being raised is how do you help your family members or your spouse? Because sometimes that's also very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that my sister and I always say when we go out is, you know, having it doesn't just, having a child with disability does not just affect that child. It affects that whole household, especially the marriage. It's a tremendous, the day my daughter got into her special needs school was the day the stress load in our family just completely changed. And it's just, you know, it makes it so much easier to get them in the best position to succeed. So that's one. You got to fight for them. You got to get what they need as school. You've got to work with teachers, build the team, build the community, get the support you need, and involve your spouse as much as possible, because it does take a tremendous toll. And I know one thing I would like to say, I'm not sure how many men are out there, but wives, you need to understand that your husband processes things differently than you do. Women tend to be very outgoing and upfront with each other about what we're struggling with. We had a man in one of our talks come up to us and he said, I can't talk about it. My wife goes to a support group, she gets it out. We don't do that. We don't sit around the water cooler at work and, you know, talk about what's wrong with our kids. Men are fixers. They want to fix things, but the problem is they don't know how. So you've got to give them concrete steps of things they can do, involve them, but understand, first of all, their perspective.
Right, right. Okay. That makes sense. Everyone wants to know more about the name of the Facebook page. Sounds like a great resource. You said it's Shut Up About Your Perfect Kid, right?
Yes, and there is a poser page out there with the same exact name, which is a story for another day. However, it is Shut Up About Your Perfect Kid, and you know it's the right page when you see 792 or whatever it is, 1,000 people, and you see an adorable child's face on the timeline. Because every day we feature a story and a photo of a special needs child.
That is great. Wow. Question about, for both Gina and Katie, at what point did Katie, how did you discuss her diagnosis, Gina, with Katie? That's a question that many people have. How do I talk with my child about this? Yep. And at what point did she become able to advocate for herself?
Well, I was always very open with her. And, you know, I wore my heart on my sleeve, so I think she probably would have figured out that, you know, that I was kind of walking around pretty worried and sad, and yeah, still do. But you know, I think that it was, for me, she used to say, I'm different, Mom. I'm not like the other kids, and cry herself to sleep. And, you know, my sister, I hate to keep plugging her because she's going to get a really big head out there. My sister had bought, when Katie was younger, she had bought her the book, The Little Engine That Could, and I remember reading that book to Katie. You know, she was young.
I still have that book, actually.
She brought it to college.
Such a great book.
No,
I remember telling her that, you know, how I explained it was, you know, you are that little engine. You get to the same place, and gosh, look where she is right now in her journey. She got the same place every other kid her age. A lot, I should say every other kid, because college isn't for everybody, but she got to that place where a lot of her peers are. She just got there a little bit slower pace, and she took a different route. But she got there. And she got there because of her heart and her perseverance. So that was sort of one of the ways we used. Another way we used was to tell her that, you know, I talked about ice cream flavors. You know, all these other kids, they're vanilla. And I said, what color are you, Katie? And she said, I'm what'd you say, Kate? Sherbet. Rainbow sherbet. And then she said, what color are you, Mom? And what color is Aunt? And I told her something with nuts, because we are both nuts. But anyway.
True.
That sounds great. No, I think perseverance is so key, because we all know that's the way to manage this.
Yep.
But, you know, I think some people have children that just won't step up, won't grasp, and won't do what needs to be done. Do you have any advice for those parents? I think that's very difficult to live through.
It is difficult. First, look within yourself. You can't change necessarily everything about them, but look within yourself. Am I putting them in the best position to succeed? Am I really listening to what they want and not what I want for them? And I think that was part of my process too, was learning, this is separate yourself from what they are, who they are, look at them and give them the support they need. And a lot of parents out there, and I don't think it's anybody that's on this call, they don't get the help their children need because they don't want to be seen looking for it or find out or have people know there's something wrong. But chances are, if you're on this call, you're either here because Katie and I paid you or because or because you're looking for better ways. And that's the other thing. Always look for other ways and never discount the power of the special needs community. And that's why I'm plugging the Facebook page, because that is where you truly get people who can give you practical, the experts can give you their medical and their, their clinical advice, but it's the day-to-day parents that have the best advice.
Right, absolutely. Colleen just posted, I just finished the Shut Up book, many laughs and a good cry too. And are there other books that you recommend for my family members?
Yeah, it depends on the diagnosis. I read a lot of different books. I hope my sister and I will write a follow-up to that book. That's the plan, but we fear that we're one-book wonders. But yes, there's a number of terrific books out there. And, I found, like, in terms of Asperger's, I really enjoyed Look Me in the Eye by John Elder Robison, because that helped me understand my daughter's mindset in terms of how she wanted to connect but just didn't know how to from an Asperger's perspective. I actually, and I read a variety of books about, I love the Rosie Project. Just, I don't know if any of the readers have read that, but just sort of getting an adult perspective, a humorous look, because a lot of times our children are so very funny, and I think sometimes we focus on trying to fit them into a box and that we never realize that it's okay for them to be a little quirky and be themselves.
Could you repeat the name of the first book, please?
Look Me in the Eye by John, and that was for, that was for John Elder Robison. And then I enjoyed the Rosie Projects. I mean, I've read a lot of different,
Okay, all right. Katie,
yes.
Your mom described that you took a different pace, took maybe a slower pace to get where you got. People are wanting to hear more about that. What does that mean exactly?
It means that I took my time and I didn't rush into things, and like the things that they were doing, like getting their license or and stuff, I took my time with that because I didn't feel like I was ready.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So just recognizing that things will come along. You'll be ready for things when you're ready.
Yeah.
And she did get her license, which was great.
Yes,
she got it at 19.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a big moment for my daughter. I think she got it when she was 21, and it was huge. Yeah. So
I just wanted my freedom.
Right. Exactly. It's a great freedom moment.
You know what? And that's true with everything. We had on our we do a little newsletter, and we focused on shoe tying tips. Shoe tying, something that came late for Katie. Everything she's lagged behind, and all of this stuff. But she's gotten there.
I still struggle with shoe tying, but I can do it now. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the, you've all probably heard of Russell Barkley, and one of the things that he's very clear about, and this is important for parents who are accused of enabling their children, is that we should assume 3 to 5 years difference in developmental skills and just accept that and not. Right. And I think that's so important, because once you accept that, you're liberated from this notion that your child is so far behind, or that you're enabling them by helping them, or those terrible self-doubts that parents have, I think. Patricia wants to know about social skills groups, and I really would like to know that as well. Did they really help you learn to make and keep friends?
Are we talking elementary or in?
At any point. Yeah, at any point.
Katie, remember we did the social skills workshop? Did that help you?
Oh, yeah. It did, actually. It taught me what's acceptable and what is not.
Yeah.
And it taught me, how to, talk to people and stuff. And now I'm a social butterfly.
Wherever did you get that from?
I don't know.
What age were these groups helpful? Was it high school or?
No, it was Kate. You were young. I want to say
very young. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say it helped from this perspective. She was in the public school, not fitting in, had just a few friends. So when she went to these sessions, it was with other kids who had similar issues. So it was a sense of belonging. They played a lot of sport-like activities. They made friends. Once she got to the school with special needs kids, we didn't really feel the need for that as much. But in college, Katie, tell them about your social group in college.
They're all kids from the center. It's not like a group that you would think it is. Like, they don't teach us eye contact, just kids from the center who all have disabilities. Just hang out,
Right.
Everyone's really loving and accepting.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with a lot of these kids. People assume, when you're a kid that's a little quirkier, they assume, oh, you don't really want to fit in. No, they want to fit in. They don't know how to fit in.
Right.
So this sort of brings them together. It's sort of like, if you have a child that you want to connect with other kids, make friends with other special needs parents who, get your kids together and make friends with the parents yourself so that you have a community. I always said I was going to start an online dating service for special needs.
Oh, my God, please don't. Oh, my
God. Question from Wendy. Why did public school not work for Katie?
A plethora of reasons. One was, one was that we wanted inclusion to work for her. But now keep in mind, we were going back a while ago, so it was like 12 years ago. So she was kind of the quirkiest kid in the class, but she wasn't. Asperger's is very, it's an invisible disability to some regard, but she was flapping, but she didn't belong in some of the classes with the kids with more sophisticated needs, so it often felt like there was no place for her. And
I can understand that, yeah.
She really struggled socially. That's one of the things we hear, particularly in the autism community. You sometimes on our Facebook page will see people sort of fighting, well, you don't have it hard, a parent of a high-functioning autistic child, because your child can do this and can talk and tell you what's wrong. And then on the other side, the parents of the high-functioning say, yeah, but there's no place for my kid.
Right.
They don't really fit in. People make assumptions about them. And
yeah.
Yeah, I've had so many assumptions made about me over the years.
I mean, my daughter is Asian, and I have to say that was a real complication because the assumption was just, the model minority assumption. No one understood her needs,
Right, exactly.
Anyway, it's another topic. But, yeah, the assumptions that are made about kids based on how they look or don't look, it's pretty serious stuff.
And not that I'm looking to pimp my daughters at all, but my younger daughter has a nonverbal learning disability, completely invisible, no quirks, and I hope to someday launch a speaking series with her about the invisible disability.
Yeah, totally.
Is she listening?
No, she should be at school. If she is, we're in trouble.
Can you guys talk about both Gina and Katie, the transition to college? Some of the questions that are being asked, Lisa, for example, is how do the accommodations that you had in high school translate to college? Are you entitled to them again? And Gina, to what degree can you manage the college situation? I think everyone's wrestling with this transition to independence. Yep. Lisa asked specifically, Gina, do you have any contact with the College Disability Services Office?
Excellent question.
How does that
if I had my way, I would have them on speed dial, but I learned very quickly, right from the first week, that's not what to happen.
I don't let her either.
Yeah, no, she doesn't.
Yeah.
If you were, if you remember one of the slides I had to talk about that loss of control, and that's probably the hardest part, is to know you can't pick up the phone. Very early on in Katie's, well, first of all, to answer the first part of your question, yes, the learning center that Katie is in, the school that she's in, we had to apply to. There are schools that have great programs for special needs. We picked Katie's school because Katie liked the campus, and they have this program within a program. So I don't know how many, Katie, do you know how many students are in your school total? Is it like 5,000?
I have no idea.
Say it's 5,000 kids, and then so assume, say 1,200 of them are freshmen. Well, this center accepts maybe 100 kids to participate in this center. Now, other kids in the general population can use the resources of the center, but they are assigned an advisor who is responsible for being a conduit between Katie and her professors. So if Katie has a problem, she can go to her advisor. But what I love about
they encourage me to actually advocate for myself, too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, Kate, your professors know you.
Yes.
If you have a problem, you go to them first. But you've been encouraged to do that.
Yes.
So very early on, Katie experienced a very difficult thing in one of her classes. Katie, tell them what happened and how we handled it.
Oh, is this about the, oh, okay. One of the professors called up my flapping one day in front of the whole class, and it really upset me, yeah.
Oh.
So I called my mom. My mom wanted to do something about it. Like
I wanted to beat up the professor. But
yeah, essentially. And I told her I could handle it, and I went to my advisor the next day, told her what happened. She talked on the phone with the professor, and the professor apologized. But I ended up dropping the class in the end because I never really felt comfortable there, and the subject bored me.
Right. That was the bigger issue. But I mean, it was important for me. I had made contact with the advisor. Katie gave me permission, but the advisor kind of said to me, you got to let her deal. And and she has. She really has. The thing that those of you out there that have children that are in high school age, you know, I don't remember thinking Katie would ever go to college at the beginning of her senior year. By the second semester, say January, I started to see things that made me think, okay, she may just pull this off. So my point in that is that there is a maturity that comes in that you don't really anticipate.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for it for myself. But
I think for some kids, 2 years in community college, I've heard this frequently, and then go away to college works well too.
Yeah, it depends on the kid. I mean, again, that was what I would have picked for Katie, but Katie proved me wrong again because this worked for her extremely well. So to the earlier point, though, you know, we had to have her neuropsych updated. We had to have her IEP to the college to get accepted into that program. She had to have a documented disability.
Yeah, it was a pain.
Yeah, we did the same thing for my daughter, who was accepted into the disability services at the college that she went to, and it was a huge amount of paperwork, but boy, it was really worth it.
Yeah, and I
don't know about you, Katie, but my daughter was very relieved to know that she was going to have that kind of support. The day we left the disability office, she said to me, well, maybe I will be able to manage college. You know, and I hadn't realized the extent to which she was fearing that she would not. You know,
and that's what Katie is quick to point out. You know, there's nobody, and they told us this, there's nobody telling those kids, and that advisor is not calling them up and saying, hey, I haven't seen you. If Katie doesn't go, Katie fails, and Katie knows that.
Yeah.
How do you guys deal with, some people are asking this, and I'm asking it as a mom, how do you cope with daily life stuff? I mean, that seems to really be the difficult thing for many people with ADHD and learning disabilities in college. You know, getting up on time, getting assignments done on time, eating correctly, you know, all of those things that your mom's not there anymore. We moms are not there anymore. How do you make that transition and deal with those sort of distractions, which are pretty serious in college?
Yeah, Katie,
right?
I'm interested in hearing your answer to this. How do you do it?
I have no idea, honestly. I know that's not very good advice, but I honestly have no idea. I just do it.
You're able to get up in time and not miss class?
How do you get up?
Well, I use this thing called an alarm clock.
Okay. But, you know, at home, I don't know if any of the parents out there, but I literally had to wake her up every morning.
Same here,
Yeah.
I try to go to bed at a reasonable hour, so that way.
Victory number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work.
But, you know, I think, you know, as a parent, too, there's times where, you know, we're hands-off, but the one thing I've learned, and Katie and I spoke recently for the Asperger's Association of New England, and we shared this, there are times when you have to leave them alone. And I was chatting with a father whose son is off at college with similar issues, and he felt the same way I did. And Susan, I'm sure you can say this, there are times when you know it's normal stress. Right now she's normally stressed from her workload from this time of year. So I remember, hey, this was stressful for me too. So that's normal.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there are times when you can tell that they may be teetering on a little bit of a breakdown. So that's when I know, hey, it's time to go up there, drive there. Katie's like an hour and 20 minutes away. It's time to go up there, take her to lunch, take her out to dinner, go shopping. You know, just like talk to her, get her, let her cry. Katie doesn't really cry, but sometimes when she's really stressed, she'll get in the car and she'll cry, she'll feel better. So we know how to read them, and so you have to stay in tune with them. When I say hands off, you're not completely hands off, but use your instincts.
Gina, I could not agree with you more. That's exactly what we had to do. We would would wait, and so when we heard signs of, just something wasn't right, we'd just go out there and say, we're just coming out, take you to dinner, go out, and sort of figure out what was going on and how we could help. But it was tough, compared to high school, middle school and high school, where you were really there day in and day out.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, being in tune, the whole issue. Would you guys mind sharing the name of the college? I mean, I can understand if you don't want to, but there's curiosity here among those who live in Massachusetts, and especially.
Sure.
Do you want to say it, Mom, or?
Okay. Well, it's Westfield State University.
In Westfield, Massachusetts.
There you go, Katie. It's just one of the Massachusetts state colleges. Its tuition is very reasonable. What's particularly attractive about their school is they don't charge any extra for the learning program, which I think is
amazing.
The challenge is it's very difficult to get into because I think they get 800 applicants a year for this program and only accept.
Wow.
20.
Yeah.
So how do you get in? I mean, what are the criteria?
Honestly, it's funny. I fully expected, because in my special needs traveling around Massachusetts, we do a lot of local speaking. Everybody kept saying Westfield, Westfield. And beyond the schools that are phenomenal and that pay a lot, you charge a lot, they charge a lot, I kept hearing about this school, and she went and actually looked at it and liked it, which worked out great for us. It's so reasonable tuition-wise because it is a state school. We went to the information centers, and even when we went there for the group sort of presentation, I thought to myself, after hearing about the program, I thought this is a really good fit for her. But you can't force a kid into it. If your child needs hand-holding, this is not the program for them.
Right.
Yeah, they do not
have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But there are schools that have programs that don't have that center. So there are things about this I like, but I like how they have the supports. They have workshops. There's social group where they get these kids together every Thursday night. That's hugely important.
This sounds like a phenomenal program.
It is an unbelievable.
How common do you think these programs are in around the country?
I know there's a few similar programs in the state of Massachusetts. However, I have not heard of one that is as good as this one.
Neither have I.
And Katie's fortunate because her advisor for the program is actually the woman in charge of the program, and she is absolutely phenomenal. And one of the things I love about Sarah so much is that Sarah keeps kids like Katie and still advises because she stays in touch with what they need. And what's really great about Sarah is she loves to see. Katie, tell them what Sarah said to you about how she likes to see her students grow.
I wrote an essay about her. Trying to think back.
You had an interview for her class, but she said that one of the things she loved was watching how the students grow.
Yeah, watching them go outside their comfort zone, grow, and try new things.
Yeah,
wow.
And she's pushed Katie outside her comfort zone like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
That's really phenomenal. It's just great. Katie, did you have to take the ACT?
No.
Someone's asking about that.
For this program, they waived the SATs. So she had to take the SAT, but they waived the SAT requirement for this program, which was huge because that's just not, standardized tests are no indication of Katie's ability.
Right.
True.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think to everyone who's listening, there are some really excellent guides to colleges that offer programs for learning disabilities. So, Google that and you'll find some. I know when we were looking into colleges, that was a very big part of our evaluation is what the services were. And so let's see. What else? Oh, good question about siblings. How do you support a child and also with special needs and also keep the siblings on board, and how do you handle that?
Well, it's funny, in our house, as I mentioned, we have another daughter, and she also has learning disabilities, and I have a dog who I believe is on the autism spectrum because he is. So I don't have any typical experiences to compare it to, but I know that it has been one of my greatest challenges as a parent has been, trying to, when I was going through this mourning process with Katie, it was very hard for me. I kept looking at my younger daughter who didn't present at the time with any learning issues, thinking, you'll be okay, I don't have to worry about you. And, and I think that to this day there's some resentment on her part that everything was about Katie, And then it's interesting because when she was diagnosed right about the time, 2010, our book came out, And I remember, like, people even said to me to this day, why didn't you write about her? And I remember at the time I was in that mourning process with her. Even though I had gone through it, I was going through it again with another child, and at the time I wasn't able to write about it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm sure that's an issue. Yeah. Katie, there's a couple of parents whose children have dyscalculia, and they're fascinating to learn, and they want to know how you handle math in high school and college. Can you opt out? Do you?
I was it took me 3 tries to pass the math MCAS. What else? I'm currently taking a math class because it's a core requirement.
The basics of the easiest math available she's taking.
Yeah, I still struggle with it, but I have a tutor, and the professor used to be a advisor at the center, so she's very accommodating.
Great. So you're tackling it head on, as it were.
Yeah. I might actually pass it.
Yeah, where she struggles in math and all of that, she's very strong in written communication, which I think is, you know, as I look at my younger daughter, she struggles a little bit more with that. And, you know, so much of Katie's homework in college and studies are making inferences and reading things, and she's very good at that, and she's good at writing, so that helps her. That's a plus. The other point I wanted to make, too, I just thought of was Katie's journey to college was exceptionally difficult because, from a social perspective, because she went from being in a school where she was sheltered with special needs kids for 6 years. So that was exceptionally challenging for her to be reintegrated back. So those of you who have kids in the public school, there's some great benefits to that, too, when it comes to making that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge one, Katie. I mean, my daughter, I don't think she could have gone to a school of 5,000 students unless, I guess, the center that you're associated with acts as a little
Yeah.
But you go there, she's just as much a part of it. I mean, she's in the same dorm with all the kids. She's in the, like, her, she's not getting anything different. She's just getting the little extra help she needs. If she
but it's necessary.
Gina, Judy wants to know, how much help did you give Katie in the college application process?
Actually, her school did all of it for me. They worked with her on the essay, all of that stuff.
I was a check
writer. I was a check writer, and I still have that role.
Oh, yeah, by the way, Mom.
Yeah, that's a private conversation, Katie. Those of you who have children that are going to college, hide your quarters, because every time Katie comes home, she steals my quarters for the month.
Okay. First of all, $1.50 for a load of laundry is very expensive.
Katie, serious question. You're getting a lot of questions here. Why did you go to college, and what career are you aiming for?
Why did I go to college? I went to college because I want better opportunities for better jobs, and I wanted to be like everyone else. And what was the second part of the question?
What are your expectations? Do you have a career goal in mind? Where, you know, do you have? I mean, it's a little early, I'm sure, but do you have a plan? I guess, or is it too soon?
I'm currently a communications major. I was thinking, well, I have to choose my minor or concentration or whatever they call that soon. So I don't know, maybe public speaking or journalism. I don't know.
Great.
Still thinking
Katie's
about
mother, selfishly, is still trying to guide, not direct her towards a career, you know, in using the skills she's learning to start speaking and to, you know, in using her writing skills to blog and use her communications background.
She'll
probably show up at ADDitude as a summer intern one of these days.
Right. So. Oh gosh. No, seriously.
When she's ready to live in New York City. What about summer camps over the years? Did you go to summer camps in middle school?
I went to one in high school where I was a CIT. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, it was a drama, like they used drama. They put on a play, and that was the whole camp that they filmed this play.
Yeah, my sister and I went.
But were there any problems for you in summer camps? Did you go to special camps or, you know, regular camps?
No, there wasn't any problems.
That was a special need camp for kids who need pragmatics. We found that in the summer, we just, you know, my younger daughter benefits from year-round learning instruction. Katie just needed a break in the summers.
Right.
Yeah, Katie does need a break.
Katie has too many breaks now as an adult.
No, Katie hasn't taken one break today.
And Katie talks about herself in the third person.
I know, Katie does.
Maybe because her mother talks about her so much. Listen, you guys, I really, really appreciate your having been here today.
Thank
Katie,
you for
it's just
having us.
congratulations on everything that you've done. It's inspirational. And maybe we can invite you back another time. There are many more questions here, which people would love to ask you. So thank you both.
Thank
Gina,
you.
thanks for all your contributions.
Thank you so much for
having us.
having us.
We love your attitude.
Great. We love you guys, too. And everybody, check on ADDitudeMag.com/webinars to find Gina's slides, the audio, and the announcements of our upcoming webinars on a bunch of other topics. Next week, OCD. The week after that, the impact of stress, and then a mindfulness webinar for adults. So good stuff this month. Thanks you all so much, and have a great Easter. Bye.
Bye.